Let me tell you. Oh, I just messed up my hair pretty bad. It's looking
Dude, you best
great.
not be messing up that hair right when we start recording. You're supposed to
I,
be the
s-
cute boy.
I smashed it. I smashed
I
it.
can't believe you'd fucking do that. Like all my computer issues, and then you're just gonna wreck your hair right
I
before.
know.
Now who's gonna watch the episode? Okay?
No one.
You're
What
like
do we-
you're fucking mangling yourself. You're disfiguring your beautiful face. Why would you do that?
It's okay. We get like no one on the YouTube. Who the fuck watches
Yeah, it's
us?
kind of interesting. I mean, it's just like I don't really care about it. We kind of just put it up there for fun at this point, and
Yep.
I kind of enjoy it just in general. Most people don't actually watch podcasts on YouTube, so I'm like, it's not really like
Yeah.
the entire idea of it is kind of flawed in general, but it's interesting. And it's like I only tweet about it like once or twice a week, I think, but I probably need to do more, maybe do some clips or something like that. But
I mean, yeah,
you know
that's
what, dude?
That's the thing is like we're really bad about clipping anything or saying like we
Yeah.
have a lot of good like those one-liners or those moments, and we did that for like
do it.
a few weeks,
Yeah, we'll
and then
do
we were
it
like,
for a couple weeks, and then it's just like it's too much work.
oh, yeah, I don't know. I need to set like a good precedence, and it's also that you are doing the editing for it, and then I was doing the clipping, so like the back and forth.
You'd be like, I want this little bit, and then I'd send it to you, and you'd be
Yeah.
like, okay, that's a good one. That's a good. Okay, we'll do that.
Yeah, it
I'd
was
send
just
you like 3 clips.
yeah, it was just bad on timing. We'll figure it out. We'll probably never do
It's
it.
a whole
Don't worry.
thing. It's just like, honestly, it's just like the website. There's like a couple things that I'll put energy into that I'm like, oh, this is gonna be really cool. Then I'm like, it just takes way more work than I actually give a shit to
Yeah,
do.
it's
Like
so.
it kind of.
It's
It sounds bad, but I'm just like, I liked it. I really thought the idea was cool, and then in practice, I'm like, this is just fucking annoying. I gotta be real.
That's how a lot of things work. That's why a lot of things fail, baby.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like that's 90% the reason that people like start shows and never finish them is because eventually
Oh,
they just
yeah.
get to a point where they're like, this is taking way more work than I feel like it's worth.
Yeah.
At this point, it's just annoying.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I felt this entire 3-year process. Like, what are we doing?
Oh, that's so true. Like whatever, bro. Whatever. Okay, so. Real talk here, though. We
Oh,
go
shit.
to record like 5 minutes ago. Actually, not even. What time is right now? 30 fucking minutes ago.
We're pretty late. We're pretty late now.
We go to record, and I plug in my mic, and it's just like, what do you mean?
Like,
And I was
don't
like, I want to use this device that I bought that has worked for years. I would very much like to use it, and my computer's just like, are you speaking English?
Like, I don't know.
What do you mean?
I don't get it. What?
Yeah.
What do you
And
want me
then I
to
was
do
like-
here, buddy?
Exactly. So it's like, you know what? I'll reset my computer. It'll be fine. I opened OBS, and it was also like, webcam? What?
Like, no.
What's that? Yeah, it's it basically everything that's plugged into my computer other than my mouse or my keyboard, which is like, are you for real?
Just taking
Like,
a
that
vacation.
exists?
It's vacay day. I
Exactly.
don't get it. Did you change something? Like, what did you?
Literally nothing. I did nothing. I just plugged my shit in. My fucking webcam is plugged in all the time. I don't understand. And then when I go to
Oh,
record,
my
it's just like,
goodness.
you wanted to use it?
Good try.
Nah.
Good try.
Yeah. And then so I was like, you know what? I'll restart my computer and I'll have the mic plugged in as like a default. Like it'll get it. And then it pops up, and for some reason, you know that sound that Windows makes when you plug in a new device? It's like bloop. And then when you unplug it, it goes like bloop.
Yeah.
Like, you know?
Yeah.
It just kept doing that over and over again.
Oh,
Like
it just
something
couldn't
was
recognize-
plugging in and
yeah.
unplugging, plugging in and unplugging. And I was like, what is your fucking deal right now? So I was like,
no.
okay, I'll restart my computer again, but this time with my mic unplugged, because maybe that fucks some shit up. The second I plugged in my mic, it was just like, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, fuck you. Oh my God, stop. Just
Yeah.
fucking quit.
That's
Like,
it.
I've said this before and I'll say it again. Technology was not built for us to use it. It's like a good idea, but in practice, it's fucking dog water. It's dog shit. Like, I'm sick of it. Maybe that's the reason my computer just decided not to work, is because the other day I got really pissed and I was just like, technology fucking eat shit. Like, sure, I can play
It's
video
listening.
games, but outside of that,
It's listening.
Seriously.
It knows. It's like, you know
it's
what?
a sentient
Fine.
being. and it understands how annoyed I am with it. So it's just like, you know what? You don't get to use it. You don't appreciate it. Plus, there's a cord touching my foot right now, and it's really freaking me out. I don't even know where it came from.
Oh man, sounds like a bad day. We just, maybe we just shouldn't do the podcast this week. It's just too many bad signs,
This cord needs to get out of my fucking life right now. That's no joke. Get out of here, bitch.
It's literally like the missing cable that you should have been plugging in the entire time.
No, you want to know how I fixed it?
How?
I was like, oh, driver issue? Okay, whatever. And I was like, you know what? There's always that one fix that's like, that's too easy. No way it'll be that. I switched USB ports. And it worked. And I was like, can you eat the biggest dick? Like the biggest bag of dicks, computer. Can you just fuck off? Like, for real. I'm sick of you.
That is real strange. And it's also very sad that it took you like 30 minutes to give that a try.
Well, it's just so easy. Like, the thing said driver issues, so I was like, oh, okay. Like, I'll check my drivers real quick.
Right.
I go through my drivers, and it was just like, I don't see it. It doesn't exist. And then I couldn't get it to recognize my mic because it refused to say that it was plugged in. Oh, dude. And that's just the tip of the iceberg with my fucking issues with technology. I go to record the Classic Gaming Podcast, no joke. We get 10 minutes in. Zero internet. My internet's just like,
I love still being in that Discord because I saw that like as you were recording, just randomly a message pop up of like, yeah, my internet just went out. I'll be back as soon as I can, kind of a thing. And I was just like, ooh, big oof.
Yeah. And I call my internet company. I'm on the line for like 40 minutes just to, so I was like, I just want to know if there's like any sort of ETA when this shit's going to be fixed. And they're just like, well, the good thing we could tell you is that there is an outage. The bad thing is that
there is an outage.
Yeah. And I'm like, what? Are you serious?
Okay, cool.
So I was like, I guess I'm just never coming back. Like I told him, I was like, it seems like it's indefinite. It's whatever. So I was like, you know what? I told my roommate, who's also a big fan of Jurassic Park, I listened to the entire first audiobook. So I was telling him, I sat there for like 30 minutes telling him the differences between the book, like the novel and the movie, which vastly different. It's very interesting.
All right.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go play some Hollow Knight. I'm sitting here. I'm playing Hollow Knight. I'm enjoying myself. My mic was luckily unplugged. And the second my internet kicked back in, I joined that Discord call again. And they were just like talking. I was like, oh, fuck me. Oh, shit. And they were like at the end of their podcast. And I thought for real, I thought about just hopping back in and acting like I was there the whole time.
Yeah.
But I was like, they had just finished telling me that that's an ongoing joke with another person that does that, and it's actually started to piss off some of their viewers.
Oh, no.
And I was like, that would be a funny joke, but doubling down on it so hard would be a little bit fucked up. So instead, I'll just not. So I popped out, and I was like, okay. Plus, I was like, I don't know if my internet's going to hold. Right. And then 5 minutes later, my fucking internet cut out again. And I was just like,
oh, my goodness. What a day.
Yeah, dude. It's a whole thing. Okay, technology not enjoying me.
Not your thing.
Right now.
I get it.
Exactly.
Just stick to games. Nothing else.
Hello and welcome to IndiePod, an Indie Games podcast, your weekly source for all the indie games news you need to know. This week we are bringing you a solitary one news story. Before, of course, we hop in to News Cram, God bless the crowd, and answer your listener questions. But before we do any of that, I would actually like to take the time to introduce myself. This time, because I forgot to last episode. I would like to introduce myself, Vaughn Hyde, alongside my illustrious co-host, the biggest of average, Josh Boys. How you doing today, big Josh Boy?
I'm doing well. I'm glad you asked this week. It's nice. It's nice to hear.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I mean, last week, I guess I just didn't care. I didn't care enough.
I get it. I get it. We've talked about how you're a shit person. You just like to step all over your co-hosts. I get it. You know what's not fair, though, is like, I get it. When we have a guest, you're like, you got to play big dog. You're like, I'm the man of the house kind of a thing. And I get it.
I got to be the alpha.
You got to be the alpha. And it's okay.
Like, it's cool. It's whatever.
Because I know.
It's an abusive relationship.
I know who the real alpha is. I'll let you have your moment in the sun. But when we don't have a guest, that's just not cool.
Yeah. You're like, but watch it. You about to catch these hands, bitch. I swear.
You about to catch these lips.
I do enjoy the like weird threat that telling someone you'd kiss them on the mouth is, which like in a sense it's actually like it's a weird invasion of privacy. Like I'd almost rather be punched than just randomly be kissed by somebody. Like it's a very weird and vague threat.
Yeah, and especially in the COVID world. I'm a fan of it. Yeah, like especially now. Like now's the time where that's more threatening than a punch.
I've actually yet to be vaccinated. I planned on it. My wife is fully vaccinated. I just haven't done it, and I really need to. Like they have like apparently like I don't have to get an appointment, so I think I'm gonna go down like probably on Wednesday.
It's like to get my super easy now. Like you can literally just walk into places and be like, "Poke me with a needle," and they're like, "Okay," and then you're done.
They're just like, "Okay."
They're like, "Here's your heroin."
Wait, you wanted the COVID vaccine?
Oh, we just had heroin.
Like, you're just like,
I guess this isn't what I expected for the day, but I guess this is what we're doing now.
I get if you just want to tap that vein, like I guess it's cool, like whatever. They literally just stab you with a needle. Like there's nothing in it. They're just like, all right.
They're just like, all right, here you go. All right, get out.
Don't even go for a vein. They're just like, you're like, get me with that needle, and they're like, okay, bah, and just fucking like, they jack your hand up. Yeah, they like tag you to the board, like tag you to the counter, and you're just like, why?
Just like this is not what I asked for.
But I'm going to get vaccinated soon. I definitely am. But, good. Of course, before any of that happens, we got to hop into our housekeeping. Please check out our developer interview with Crowded Damon or Demon Studios. I'm not exactly sure because that is actually a spelling for Damon. Like my brother's name is Damon. So it's a little weird. It's just like Damon, Demon. I'm not sure. Talking about their game Syntherapy, which seems really interesting. I believe the developer interview is actually done with a person named Chris, but I'm not 100% sure who that is. I was like, I'm not.
Man, I really need to do more research on this because, like we talked about before, it's like a month or so since I've done this interview. But what I can say is, this is actually a really cool one. Like if you're into like story-based games and like decisions, like this is really cool. It's the whole idea of you being this therapist who is performing
fucking up people's lives.
Sure. But also it's about this AI, this like sentient robot that it's getting into that moral gray area of like, do robots, should they have humanistic rights if they are able to think like a human is? If you're getting to a level of intelligence where a robot can think, can feel for themselves. And so it's her being you as this doctor trying to have therapy sessions with that robot and treating it like a person and going through the same type of diagnoses you would do with little mini games. But just playing into the fact of that weird area of like, what are human rights to a degree of intelligence when it comes to AI? And like, I just think the idea of it's really cool. I played a good amount of it and I also watched a couple of people just do like reaction videos of it. But the interview is really good. I would recommend it.
So it's kind of like a Turing test or Ex Machina. It's like a test of sentience.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's like one specific one that's having like mental breakdowns about the job that it was designed to do, and because of that, the head of the school, the university that built it, wants the therapist to diagnose it and to kind of like treat it like it is a human, because it's getting into a weird gray area where he wants to know if it is at that level of like a sentient being, because then it gets into the whole ethics department and becomes a real big legal issue for the school. So there's a lot of like balancing from like the game's perspective of trying to stay on people's good side, because you have like the principal who wants you to find out what's going on with it and kind of shut it down, and you have the person who built the robot, I think it was, who's like on the side of helping the robot, and you're kind of like stuck in the middle, and you also have to go through these therapy sessions and things like that. So it's an interesting concept. I would recommend listening to the interview and then also checking out the game.
All right, and once again, that is our developer interview with Crowded Damon Studios, or Demon, I'm not 100% sure, about the game Syntherapy. That one should be going live on Wednesday the 30th. So check that out. Once again, that is 1 day after for patrons, 2 days before for plebes. Check out our IndiePod store over on Teesprings, where you can get t-shirts and stickers, soon to be some more stuff. I like how I've said soon to be for
so long. When is soon?
6 months.
What does soon mean to us? Nothing. Literally.
Honestly, dude, I'm pulling some fucking Team Cherry shit. Like, it's just like, soon is soon.
No,
you know what
okay,
I mean?
if you were pulling Team Cherry stuff, you just wouldn't talk about it. You'd be like, go to Teespring, buy our shirts. And then you would just stop. And you'd be like, you'd never talk about it.
What about new stuff? And just
be like, we're not gonna talk about it in the next episode. And then you would stop.
I guarantee you I will not be talking about it anytime soon.
Yeah.
Please check out our YouTube channel where you can watch these episodes, not as we record them or anything like that. Actually, it's like almost a week later, but you can watch them.
Can you imagine? I mean? Can you imagine if we did these live on Twitch, especially with like what you had to go through right now? Like, I feel like we'd have such a hard time.
That would have been so annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally.
I would have rather have stabbed myself. I'm gonna be honest.
It would have just been on hold music for 30 minutes of me playing Isaac. Because that's literally all I was doing while I was waiting for you. The minute you were like, it's going to take me a while, I was like, all right, I'll just play a round of Binding of Isaac. It's fine.
Please leave us reviews on any sort of platform in which you can do so. Specifically, iTunes helps us out a lot. If you write us a review at any star amount, please leave us 5-star reviews. But if you are not satisfied with the experience, you can give us less stars. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You know what I mean?
But if you do,
if you give us less than 5 stars, I'll kiss you on the mouth. Like, you get it.
If you do, though, let us know why and what we can change.
Yeah,
and if you're just a jerk, then just get out of here.
And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons. John.
Just John.
It's just John.
It's just John.
Yeah. We'll see. Mixamatosis, a.k.a. Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Renshaw, the Wombat Imp of Australia, Chris Penwell, always drinking tea, Josh Nichols, a.k.a. Active Josh, and Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you all so much. You're all so amazing. Just all of our patrons are amazing. Anybody who listens is amazing, but specifically made a commitment to give these guys that shout out. So gotta do it. You know what I mean? You gotta do what you do to pay the bills. I don't know why I said it like that, but whatever. So let's talk about some of the games we have been playing. Big Josh Boy, you have been playing Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance by Tuque Games?
Tuque?
Or Tuque?
Maybe? Tuque?
I don't know. It looks like Tuque, like the I'm not 100% certain, but like the precursors to the Baggins in Lord of the Rings, you know what I mean? Like, you big
maybe.
Lord of the Rings fan?
Maybe.
You
No.
Lotro fan or something?
No, not really.
Like
Not really.
No, you don't like them little beats?
I mean, like, I'm okay with them, but I'm not like, I wouldn't know what Tuque is.
What Tuque is? Just have to say, since we're on the topic of Lord of the Rings, Frodo fucking sucks. Sam is the hero. Eat a dick. I'm out. This podcast is over. Tell me about Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance.
That was quick. Dungeons and Dragons Dark Alliance. This game is one that was on my radar that I was super hyped for. I thought it was going to be so great. And then they said they were coming to Game Pass 2 day one. And I was like, Game Pass, best deal in gaming. And I'm glad because I hate this game.
Dog water.
It's
fucking
awful.
Sucks.
Oh my God. But it's like, so a lot of people have been talking mad smack about this game. And like rightfully so, because it is a clunk fest. This game, man, it's amazing that they're not marketing this as like alpha or early access because it is rough. And like and it's one of those games where it's like so bad it almost teeters on it being like back to good if you come in with the mindset of like this game's bad and let's laugh about how bad it is and like play it. Like I've been playing with Just John and another buddy of mine because you can play up to 4 people, and so it was the 3 of us and we were playing, and it was one of those. It's for those who don't know, it plays into very much like an action adventure game, but a co-op game where you're a party of 4 who has these missions that they go on, and it's a behind character view. It feels like it's trying to take a lot of different good elements from games and like mash them all together. The biggest one that I can see that they tried to pull a lot of inspiration from seems like God of War from like the 2018 version, because it has an interesting play where each character is a different class, has different abilities, and you have like a skill tree that you're speccing into. You have different items and loot that you get, which feels very Diablo or very, like that dungeon crawling like loot system of having all these different types of classifications as far as like the different resistances, the different abilities that you get, the different like just visual side to it. I do like, and you'll enjoy this, when you put on equipment, does change how you look visually.
Oh shit!
Let's
go, dude.
That is a
best fucking game of the year right there.
That is a big plus to it, because it does look pretty cool. And you have, when you go to your shop, you can buy like little skins to your not like like monetization wise, but just like little changes to how your item looks. So some of the items will have different variations, which I thought was really cool. Like the customization part on that and just like the look to it, really interesting. I think that as the classes start building out, they start getting more interesting kits. Like my buddy was playing this one who was kind of like an assassin, but like a wizard, like witch assassin, where it has like spells like this cat thing that like jumps out, and there's like all these crazy cool slashes. I was just playing this dwarf he like had this giant anvil attack that just like rained down an AoE blast, and then most of your kit is just being like tanky. I think it's really interesting. Like they have a good amount of like laid mechanics that I think at its core are great. Like they have a block, they have a parry, they have a dodge, they have a stamina bar to make all of that have a little bit of I guess weight to it, which I appreciated. I thought it was good. I really like the way they did stamina, although I think it's flawed, but I like the idea of it, that they have a stamina bar, but then they also have like a max stamina, like little like ticker that kind of goes down as you use heavier attacks. So it like uses it, so you can only get that gauge to a certain point unless you get a stamina potion or you like wait a certain amount of time. So I like the way that they tried to balance like these heavy attacks and like fix that. But then you go to the archer class and whew.
Oh, I've heard so many bad things about the archer class.
The archer,
just like,
I think it was like the archer was like garbage, I believe, when it first came out. But when I picked it up a little bit later, a few days, I think they like retooled it a bit because of the stamina concerns. But after that, dude, so broken. Literally, you just like, you pull back your bow because you have a charge shot and you let go. It does 3 arrows. It hits like almost everyone that's around, and it does like 300 damage like 3 times, which is more than anyone else can do in like a basic attack. And at a certain point, the stamina bar like gets to about half, that like max version, and then it stops, and you could still always do that. You just like, oh, I guess I'll just wait a second before I use my next attack. But you're just so damn strong. And like the other characters felt nowhere near as impressive. And I was just like, this just seems way too broken. Like the numbers you could see, like the difference of damage was like, I was the highest with the archer and it was like 100,000 damage. And then you'd look at the next highest person and it was like 15,000. And you were like, what is this disparity? And it's just because you're just bopping people. I don't know.
They just overcorrected like no other.
Yeah. And granted, like that's whatever. So a class is overpowered. But like at the same thing, the reason why this game is bad is just it's so buggy. It's so buggy. You'll be fighting someone. Like think of if God of War, you know how the fluidity of it, the just the crisp combat to it. Think of that. And then think of when you swing your axe, if an enemy just like was over a yard away from you after hitting it once, and then you're like, where'd you go, buddy? Why are you over there? That happens all the time. I'm like, enemies are just jumping to different places. When you shoot your bow, there's no trajectory of the arrows. It just goes to a certain distance and then just disappears. And it's hard to tell where it goes. So you're just like throwing your arrows and nothing will happen. If you are not the archer and you try to use a ranged attack, it does like, it tickles them. It's like Completely useless. It's like, okay, so the only one who could do ranged is archer, and it is incredibly broken. But then you have a person who's not the archer who's throwing an axe, and it'll do like, 5 damage. And be like, well, what is this? There's like little axe. What is this? An axe for ants? And you're like,
bitch.
And half the time, the enemies don't attack you. They just taunt you. And you're like, what are you doing? And like, we put the difficulty up, and we'll still, like, we were fighting this one boss who admittedly we got really wrecked by, but you can pick up your teammates halfway through. So he would constantly, the boss would knock down 2 of them and one of us would be alive. And the boss would then just kind of like go like this at us and kind of like let us get back
doing
up.
A victory dance.
Just like dancing around. And I'm like, we only won that because the game is so buggy that the boss was like, I guess I'll just do this now.
He just decided to dunk on you.
Yeah. And we're like, all right, I guess.
Fuck it suck.
And so I was like, it's one of those games where so buggy, so weird, just like not properly balanced. It just is not ready to see the light of day is basically what it is. But
wouldn't that be funny if they took a little page from Amazon's book and they just took it back?
They just took it back. Yeah.
They're like, never mind, game. It's not released anymore. It's in early access now. And you're just like, what do you mean?
You're like, I don't know about that. I feel bad. Like, I never like dunking on a game because I know people put a lot of work into that, but like, it's just not, it needs more to it. It needs more polish. It just doesn't feel ready. And like I said, it's a good game to like, to be with a group of people and kind of joke about how like kind of like janky it is. Yeah.
It's laughable.
Yeah, it's like laughable, but you still have like an okay time. Like I still wouldn't mind playing it, but also the reason why is because I have it on Game Pass. I didn't pay $40 for it. So like I would never buy this. I would play this on Game Pass. I would never buy this in the state that it's in. So they're like, that's the one of the thing that I'll say is the developers have already come out and we're like, we promise to work on it and to make it better and to do blah, 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 blah. But like, if you do not have Game Pass, I cannot recommend this game right now. No way. Like it is not worth it. Especially if you're a single player type of person. Like for you, Vaughn, never in a million years would I recommend this.
Unless I played that Archer character.
Unless you, like it just does not feel as good. Like I would not have had a good time if I was doing it on my own. It was just because of the group that I was with and just having like an open mind to it and not having the $40 drop into it. But otherwise, I'll talk about the next one. I won't, rip that one apart. It's a game that I'll still be like watching, and I still have my friends that I was playing with. They are still playing it. I saw just today, so I'm like, I guess it's good enough for them to dive into. And I think they really just wanted to keep leveling up and see kind of what the skill tree turns into, because granted, maybe it gets a lot better later when you have more leveled characters. So I'll probably stick with it a little bit because my friend group is into it, but I'm more just waiting to see what comes next from the team and how they try to improve it. But the next thing that I wanted to talk about really quickly, because it's just a demo, and normally I don't talk about the demos I play, but Death Trash, man, this demo, I got to talk about it. Death Trash by Crafting Legends. They're the developer and publisher of it. We've mentioned Death Trash once before, a couple of times actually, but I remember last episode we said something about it.
Yeah,
dude,
because it was finally shown and they announced their early access period. Yeah,
so, and I believe the early access period is going to be August 5th, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so.
So coming up, this is going to be a game that I rush into. I loved it. Is that good? Dude, I played the demo. I played it to a certain point, and then I put it down because I was like, I'm going to lose the save data for this when the game comes out. I'm just going to wait. Like, that's how much I enjoyed it.
Shit.
Dude, that's
intense.
It's so, okay, so like combat is like, it's a little, I think it's good, but it takes some getting used to because it's very like, hit someone, run away, dodge. It's like, it's really easy for you to get hit, and can be a little just annoying for the style that it's in, which is very like top down, like isometric view. But I love the world, the story building, the RPG element of it. So basically what it reminds me of is just a more weird and Cthulhu, like, you know, like Lovecraftian type of inspired Fallout. It's a post-apocalyptic world. It's you are on this planet that is run by aliens, or not aliens, excuse me, by robots. And the first thing that happens is you're like kicked out of the society, and they're like, you have to get out. You've been kicked out of our special society. Go up into the real world where there's other people and they're creating their own little blah, blah. They're like, we don't care really what you do. Just get out of the special group. And it's because you have this weird like disease that you don't know about. And so you like, there's literally a button where you just puke.
Nice.
That's just like what you do.
They're like, why not?
And a bunch of it is like, cool. there's things where they'll be like, oh, you need some kind of organic lubricant. And you'll be like, ah, perfect. Blah, and you'll just puke. And it'll be like, you fixed this robot with the organic lubricant. And there was like this droid person who was broken. You fix him and his legs are crushed, but he's like, you turn him back on and he's like, oh, thank you so much. This is who I was, blah, blah, blah. He's like, take me with you. And you're like, your legs are broken. And he's like, I'll just rip off my head. I'll be fine. So you're just like, okay. And now he's an item. And every so often you can walk into a place and just interact with him and be like, where are we? And he'll be like, oh, he'll start talking to you. Very similar to like, I know I just mentioned that in the game before, but God of War. Yeah. I was just thinking about. Yeah. So, but it's really, really good, man. And it's got all these different types of perks that you can put into of like, do you want to be more cyber tech? Do you want to be what's animalism? Which is like there's like these creatures that you can befriend and grab into you, and then you can break them down into meat, which is kind of messed up.
That's weird.
Yeah, but they're like these meat creatures. Like the whole entire planet is just covered with meat that is like coming out of the ground. And I talked to someone who was like this meat procurer who was just like, welcome to the town. Here's your free ration of meat. Like if you'd want more, you got to buy it. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I was like, why is all this meat here? And he's like, I don't know. It's just always been here. It grows out of the ground, I guess. And you're just like, what? Like, what is going on in this town? It's so interesting. It's super creepy, but like, it just feels really cool. I'm loving the idea of it's a very pull back to classic games of that, like you can kind of do whatever you want. Like you can walk in and talk to the doctor about, you know, oh, can you help fix me, blah, blah, blah. Or you could just walk into their office and just start beating her up. Like, why not? You know, whatever type of life you want to live, like you could do it.
It's cool.
It's cool.
Just start beating the shit out of people.
Just start beating the shit out of people. Why not? If that's your prerogative, you go for it, buddy. It's so weird. Like the first thing that you do when you walk out of the area, like that starting tutorial area, is there's just like a flesh kraken who's there, and he's just,
oh yeah, it's really cool looking.
It's super creepy, and it's just like sitting out there, and it's like, and it like speaks in like one word, like sentences, and he's just like, friends, and you're like, what? Do you want me to get you friends? And he's like, yes. And you're like, okay. And like, I'm on this mission to just find him friends. So I'm just walking through the town. I'm like, does anyone want to be this flesh kraken's friend? And people are like, oh no, I don't like, I don't want that. Get away from me.
That sounds really interesting. I've been looking forward to Death Trash for a really long time. I'm gonna have to check out that demo to see if like I'm still as enthusiastic about it as I was before, but your glowing endorsement of it is really getting me excited. Yeah. I'm honestly like, I'm pretty stoked. The game has just always looked really good to me, and I always love the weird variety to the world it seems like it has. So yeah, I'm super stoked. I hope I still love it. Granted, it's very possible that I get into it and I'm like, I don't like that there's meat. I don't know. I'm always a super picky person.
Yeah, super picky with meat. Yeah, I honestly, I don't want to go too much more into it because I'm just going to wait until like it comes out. And it was one of those things where like, I really hope it's as good as the demo like was for me, just because I immediately put it down after, you know, playing for an hour or so, because I was just like, I don't want to go any further. I want to experience the full thing. And granted, that's one of the things that I'm like, I know I'm on a tangent now, but like I keep going back and forth when it comes to these things that are more story based, because I'm like, what is that going to be for early access? You know, like I got to look more into that to see if that's like, oh, the story will be done, but we're implementing like polish to it. Like if that's the case, like, yeah, I'm 100% in. But like, I always feel weird starting early access games that are story based, where they're like, you just get to a brick wall and then you stop. And I'm like, I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, and it never helps because that's like always my issue with games, because a lot of the time I'll get to the end of a game and be like, oh, I want to take a break, and then try to come back and I'm like, I don't remember.
Or I don't feel as confident as I was at that point, and you're like fighting harder enemies and you have to backtrack, or you have to try and get that muscle memory back, and it just doesn't feel as good if you were just playing it full through. So we'll have to see. I really like it. I think I'll still probably support them anyway. Just because why not, if they're looking for money to help them develop the game. But like, I don't know that I would jump actually into the game right away. I'll have to see. I'll have to look into it. But I think it's great. I think you should check out the demo.
All right. I'll have to check it out. I'll definitely check it out. So for me, like I said last week, I'm just going to continue until I beat the game. I'm going to continue to be giving you some Hollow Knight updates.
Hell yeah.
So, Big Josh Boy, I got to ask you a question, okay? Because this shit has weirded me out. Have you ever played a game that you just refuse to believe you've played it for as long as you did? Like, I'm not even joking. Like, I have, every time I go to play more Hollow Knight, I like sit down and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play some more.
Okay.
I have played excessive amounts. Like, I don't even understand. I'll sit down and be like, it was 10 hours like when I first started this, and now I'm at 17 hours. What do you mean? Like, I swear to God, I haven't played this game that much.
This is the thing that always confuses me about like time, because there will be these weeks that go by and I have nothing to talk about really, or like I've just played a demo and I talk about it because I only played like an hour of games throughout the whole week, and it's because I have so much stuff going on.
You got a lot going on.
And I feel like mostly every week to week doesn't change, but then somehow I find time to sneak in those weeks where I get, really enthralled with a game, like those 8-hour sessions of just like back to back, just like playing a ton of games. And it's always confusing. I'm like, where did this time come from when I get really involved into something? And it just feels like it's just like, oh, I guess all my priorities got thrown out the window. Like it's so strange.
Yeah. I've played so much Hollow Knight, it's ridiculous. Like, I'm honestly so surprised. And that is such like a glowing endorsement for a game for me. Like, I've always gushed about Hollow Knight. I've always loved it, but there was always the little asterisk of having not finished it or not really actually played that much of it. Now that I've played more of it, I'm like, I barely scratched the surface of Hollow Knight before. Yeah. And now I could literally beat the game right now. If I wanted to. I'm not even joking. I'm at the last boss. I can beat the game if I want.
This went so much quicker than I thought. I thought this was going to be like weeks and weeks of you reporting back in. Congrats. So did I. Congrats.
But apparently I've played this game for 20 fucking hours within the past week. I'm not like within the past like week and a half. And it's blowing my mind because I'm like, I swear I don't play this game that much, but apparently I do. I just go into like the fifth dimension where time no longer exists and I just fucking play for like hours. I don't understand. It's just
getting in that flow state.
Dude, it is so much fun. I cannot believe that this game is this fucking good. Like, it blows my mind because I'll literally, there are always times in games where I'm like, ooh, I already know that that's going to beat my ass. I don't know if I want to try it. And especially when it comes to like Souls-like games and stuff like that, where persistence has always been an issue. And it is for most people who play those games, because once you get into a really hard game, you get beaten like 6 times. You just don't know if you want to keep going.
Yeah,
for some reason with Hollow Knight, I'm just like, yeah, let's do it. And I've fought bosses like 75 times in a row. I'm literally not even joking. The Watcher Knight, I spent probably like 3 or 4 hours trying to beat that boss. Goodness. Using different configurations of charms, like trying to figure it out, because there's some bosses that I'm just like, doesn't matter how good you are. I'm not even joking. There are some bosses that I'm like, I don't understand how people beat this. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. But then I eventually beat it, and I'm just like, I don't know how I did that. Like, I don't even get it at this point. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I just blacked out, and then the boss was beaten. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, and there's only like a couple bosses in this game where I've actually had like a legitimately hard time with it. And the Watcher Knight was one of them, where I was just like, it's kind of annoying because when there's just bosses who summon a couple minions, like that's fine. When there's bosses that throw out like different traps, like I'm actually so excited for Silk Song now, because in the second fight with Hornet, she starts to throw out these traps that are like little spike balls. Right. They kind of remind me of caltrops, and I'm just so excited to see how that works in Silk Song, because we already know that it's going to be implemented. Yeah. We've seen it in gameplay footage and it looks so cool. But there are like very few bosses that I've really had a hard time with, and the Watcher Knights are one of them, because you get there and they are essentially like a bunch of dead beetles that apparently died and let out all of these like little kind of like glowing bugs when they died, that are seemingly taken over by the Radiance by now, which, if you don't know what the Radiance is, it's like this ethereal being that takes over the minds of other bugs and like controls them like little puppets on strings. It's for the most part the actual main antagonist of the entire game, even though you don't fight it until like the end of the game, and you really don't even know what it is unless you really pay attention, right? Which is really cool. So I go up against these Watcher Knights, and they essentially, like all these bugs, they flood into a shell of a beetle and they start beating your ass. And you're like, okay, I beat one. And then the second you beat one, two more basically spawn, and you're like, oh crap, whatever. And they work really well together to this really annoying degree where you're just like, how am I supposed to dodge that? Because they will essentially like go in like a really quick ball, like a Sonic state, you know, like when you play Sonic in frickin' Smash and you just basically like dash from side to side, like beating the shit out of people. These bugs do that. And they will go from side to side. One of them will. And one of them will go in a zigzag from top to bottom. So you're just like, I have to jump over one, but also make sure that I still have my, I believe they're not moth wings. What are they? Monarch, Monarch wings, which is essentially a double jump, to make sure that you can course correct in air, because if you don't, you're gonna get hit. And it was just such an annoying boss fight, but I did it for seriously, like I'm not even joking, probably 75 times. I sat here for hours just doing this to eventually beat this boss, so I can go kill one of the dreamers to unlock a shackle on the fractured Hollow Knight, essentially, that's holding the Radiance at bay. And so it's just, this game is so fucking good, dude. It's absurd. I love it so much. And I'm actually doing really well. Like, so for this week, to give an update on what I've done, I beat the Mantis Lords last week. I think that was the one I really talked about. Yeah. So I beat Dung Defender. I beat the Broken Vessel. I beat Brooding Moloch. I beat Hornet Sentinel, which is the second time you fight Hornet over in, I forget what the place is called, but it's really interesting. It's essentially like, has this constant ash that's falling on it, so it's an entire like barren wasteland, and it's just caused by the Pale Kings. Like, basically they used to be a worm but then reincarnated into a bug, like a beetle, and their husk of their body is slowly decomposing over time and just showering this land in ash, which is really, really cool. I also beat Umu, which is like this really annoying, it's a jellyfish, and you actually fight it with Quirrell, which is so cool because Quirrell's my fucking boy. And I'm not even joking when I say I welled up a little bit and almost cried when I sat with Quirrell as he died, basically. Like, and I've talked about it. I've said they did my boy Quirrell dirty. I've said it for so long. It's not true. He has such a nice, such a nice character arc. I love seeing Quirrell's progression because, and you have this really, really amazing moment with him before he kind of just like disappears and leaves his nail behind and accepts his fate, where Quirrell talks about how it kind of sucks that all of his involvement like this, and he says he's essentially centuries old. He's super old, but didn't feel it before because he hadn't accomplished his mission. And once he does, he feels that age and is like, okay, I'm okay with dying. I'm totally fine with it, and comes to terms with it and looks out at the blue lake. And you have this moment where Quirrell says, like, it sucks not remembering like all of my role in the locking away of the Radiance and everything. It really blows. But the nice thing about that is I don't remember my regrets. I don't remember any of these things that held me down, and I get to die just having the nice moments. Like, I get to die with my heart filled with wonder and love. That's all I get to see. Even though Hollowness is extremely fucked up, Quirrell, like, basically your last moments is just sitting with him while he basks on this beauty of a lake and then just disappears, gives up his nail and disappears and dies. It's so beautiful. I loved it so much. Like, I've talked shit about it. Not like really. I've just said they did my boy Quirrell dirty because he just dies. And I was like, that's fucked up. But I loved it so much. I've beaten several more bosses like Galleon and the Fluke Marm, which I get it. These are weird names, but they're actually really, really fun boss battles. Like, the Fluke Marm actually just summons minions. It, like, sits there. It doesn't move, but it summons these minions that'll essentially, like, eat you. It's really annoying. And you just have to sit there and, like, kill the 2 minions and then beat the shit out of it. Kill a couple minions and then beat the shit out of it. I'm slowly working toward trying to get my preferred ending, because you can essentially, like, there's a choice that's given to you by Hornet specifically, but Hornet also gives you, like, there are other choices as well depending on what you do. There are, like, I think like 5 endings. This is way back when we had Tom Marks on. I talked about how I don't think that Team Cherry will ever make a sequel to Hollow Knight that follows this story, because they'd have to choose a canon ending, and they have like 5 endings, and I doubt they would choose the best one. Let's be real. So they have the ending that I'm shooting towards is essentially like Hornet gives you these 2 choices, but there's many more. She gives you 2 choices that you could prolong Hollowness suffering, basically, by becoming the new Hollow Knight, accepting the Radiance, and just sitting there and being locked up again. But eventually you're going to, like, the Radiance is it's like mind control powers, and it's like kind of pandemic nature of it is going to leak out, and it's like a never-ending cycle.
Yeah. With
the exception of, I don't think a knight would actually come to save everybody, so the Radiance would eventually take over Hallownest and basically take everyone's free will away, which really sucks because all these characters are awesome. Or you can do the much harder path, which is that you can essentially awaken your dream nail, which is something that you get eventually. It's brought up like halfway through the game, but you can go into like different characters' dreams. You can see what they're thinking on the inside of their head, which is really cool when you find these like ancient beings that are kind of like worms or like godlike figures. And there's one that does not believe it is a worm, but it's the only character in the game that if you dream nail it, it knows that you did it. And it's like, fuck off. Like, it tells you basically that it doesn't like its mind being messed with. And it's just like, leave me alone so I can take a nap. And I think that's really hilarious. But I'm slowly trying to awaken my dream nail so that I can go into the Hollow Knight, because it's a 2-stage boss battle. Basically, you fight the Hollow Knight, and then if you awaken your dream nail, you can actually go inside of its like dreams, its, I guess, mind, and you can kill the Radiance, which will actually complete the game, and you don't have to be part of that vicious cycle. But there's also an ending that I really want to work toward, and I'm not 100% sure if I can at this point, because I think you might have to beat the game on Steel Soul, which I might actually play through again just to get this ending, where you fight the Radiance, but you are not actually the one who kills it. Instead, the like Void itself, like personified Void, kills it, and it's this really creepy like tendrilled being that just grabs it and like tears it apart. It's really gross and really cool at the same time. That is the ending that I want, because I find it really cool, but I don't know if I'll ever actually get to it. In the end, I really just want to beat the Radiance. Right. But honestly, I'm loving this game so much. Like, it's getting me so excited to play some more. Like, it's kind of weird. It's making me want to play more, not only Metroidvanias, but things similar to Hollow Knight. So I thought about buying Gleamlight. I'm not even joking. Like, people shit on it because it's so close to Hollow Knight, but I'm like, I might buy it because of that. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, like, I mean, whatever. if that's what you're looking for, then there you go. It's all good.
Yeah, but I'm loving Hollow Knight. I think it's a lot of fun. I'm trying to like, because there's an achievement for 112% in the game,
right?
And that's just sounds weird, but there is. And I want to do that. I'm slowly collecting all the charms. I'm slowly collecting all the vessels, trying to get all the grubs so that eventually their dad can eat them and I can fight the collector who's definitely doing some fucked up shit to them, like some sexual stuff, and it's really fucked up. Yeah, basically just everything in Hollow Knight is just mostly fucked up. Like, for real. There are a few characters that, like, the last thing I'm going to talk about is that I hope there's a point in time. Like, I've saved Zote several times. And it's a character that's like Zote the Mighty, but he's actually kind of a piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
I've saved Zote several times. I hope there is another point where I can leave him to die, because there is an achievement where you can leave Zote to die.
Yeah.
And I want to do that now, because there's this bug that you save early on that basically falls in love with you because you save her. And I'm like, okay, it's cool. I like the admiration. I think it's interesting. I go to the Coliseum of Fools, which is like just this weird bug coliseum. And they force Zote to fight, and like, you don't have a choice. You have to fight Zote. You don't kill him, but you just fight him to the point of like winning. And it's like, okay, Zote then goes back to Dirtmouth, which is the main hub where this like bug creature is that I was telling you about. Goes back and badmouths you to all of these other bugs and tells them that you're a beast and that he defeated you and that he is actually the savior of Hollow Nest. And that pisses me off so much, because I'm like, bruh, you have no idea how much I've been through with this shit. And that bug loved me, and I was into it. And then there's a phase where you can use your dream nail to go into that bug's dream and fight Zote, the Gray Prince. It's a really annoying fight. I have yet to beat it, but I really want to. Zote's pissing me off, though. I'll leave that bitch to die. I'm not even joking. I'm ready to leave his bitch ass to die. I'm willing. I want that achievement now. And if I have to play the game again to do it, I will. I will kill him.
Yeah, I think
I'm sick of it.
For some reason, I remember to do that, like to leave him to die, you have to never interact with him. I'm pretty sure. Like,
yeah,
at the
that's
very
what I think
start.
it is.
Yeah,
because he has these like situations that he finds himself in where he'll be like stuck in spider's webs, or is like stuck in the jaw of, I believe it's actually one of the bosses that you fight.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
It's right here. For this achievement, simply ignore Zote, essentially leaving him to die. Return to the spot later. You'll find his skull on the platform. Attack it and the achievement will unlock. So you gotta redo it, Betty. You gotta redo it.
I'll fucking play this game again to kill that bitch. I'm not even joking. He pissed me off, dude. I fucking basically save him over and over again. And then he takes my girl? What? Also, I realized something. Like, eventually, I realized it. There's this whole, like, shipping between Hornet and the Knight. They're like, oh, they need to be together. They're siblings. Like, I just want everybody to really take that in. They're siblings. You're shipping incest, bro.
Gross.
Like, it's bugs, but it's incest.
Also
so let's
gross.
chill. It's a little weird.
Both are gross. That sounds like a great way to end this.
Exactly, yeah. It is time for us to hop into our news stories. Before we get into our first news story, which is kind of just like a little fun one that I wanted to talk about because I think it's interesting. Instead, Big Josh Boy and I wanted to talk about an article that was written by, I believe, PC Gamer. And it is E3's indie trailer montages could feel overwhelming, but devs say that they actually work. It's an interesting discussion that Big Josh Boy wanted to have, and I thought it was awesome, so I wanted to talk about it, but I don't want to read the article necessarily, and I'm not talking, like, I don't mean to shit on anything, but it kind of says the same thing over and over again. Right. The most interesting part of it is that it turns out that a lot of these trailers that you see, a lot of, like, big AAA companies, those trailers are made internally by like video teams that they have. So like Bungie, they hire people to make trailers for Destiny. Jacob Decker, like I've talked to him a little bit since he moved over to Obsidian, but he's talked about how he's worked on like some different promotional material and like different in-house stuff. But Seemingly they make like big AAA stuff. They make it all in-house. I've never actually thought about how indie devs make it. And I thought that it was the most interesting part of that article is actually the fact that they're like, no, they spend upwards of $10,000 to get somebody to promote their shit, to make this trailer. And it actually garners quite a bit. Like they talked about how they got like upwards of 100,000 wish lists on Steam because of this trailer within a 24-hour period of E3, which is a big deal. But there is like a statistic that says like 19% of wish lists actually turn into purchases. So they actually have to get like a massive amount of people to purchase their game to make the investment in a trailer worth it. But I never actually thought about that. Yeah, I really never did.
Yeah, I had a whole conversation the other day with Captain Bang. He was on my stream a couple of weeks ago, and I had mentioned what I do for like a profession. Like I do video editing. I do a lot of learning content, and so doing things like chopping things together from a video perspective is not everyone's forte, and it's something that obviously takes time. And if you don't know that world, like with a lot of things in indie world or with like a startup, you either need to wear that hat and find a way to do it yourself, or to outsource it to a different company, a different person, and try to find something. And it's like it's either going to be a lot of money or it's going to be a lot of your time. And that's why, like, Captain Bang was like, oh, do you want to do it for us? And I was like, absolutely not, because there's so much pressure on that, specifically because it's got to be a banger so that they do get that 100,000 wish lists. And I'm like, I don't want to put that pressure on me. I don't want to be the reason why you don't get that. I think it would be really cool to do that. Like what Jacob Deck does, Mr. Decker, I would love to do for a company. Like, I think it would be so cool to work inside like the Xbox studios and work for like their indie side of things and like create promotional stuff and video stuff for them. That would be like dream job for me. But I think it's a lot. I think it's interesting too, because that metric of only 19% turning into wish lists, like I get it, because there's a lot of things that I wish list and I don't buy, right? Oh, yeah. Like just because wish listing is good even if you're not planning on buying it, because it does spread the word, because you wish listing it and other people wish listing it gets it into the Steam algorithm or into other algorithms depending on what service you're using, just because there's a lot of things that will run of like what's popular or what's upcoming and is in the news. Those type of things, those searches, they're being populated based on those wish lists, because that's their metric for is something hot or not, right? And so I think that the 19% kind of makes sense, but even still, like it's really just that marketing of getting your game out there. Like even if 19% of those wish lists get converted, I feel like obviously it depends on how much they paid for the video, but
the promotional material,
any of that, like that 19% is something that people from an indie perspective are more than happy to get, because there's a chance that no one knows about your game and does anything with it, right? Like if you're not a bigger studio. So I think it's rough. I just think it's cool to see that these type of overwhelming pushes of indie games, especially in these montages, because like with you and me, we had a whole conversation of, is this too much? Is this like, is it important that people are just like, hey, I'm still here, or that, their videos are being shown? Like, is it really paying off? And in some ways, like from at least that metric, yes, it is. And I think it's super exciting to see something like this because of the pessimistic mindset that many would have, that even I would have. And I admit, of looking at that and saying, is that really going to mean anything in the long term? And I think it's very exciting to see that, yes, there are people still watching. There are people who see this that are interested in indie games and interested in these quirky titles, that they're like, I'm going to wishlist this. I'm going to, I want to know more about it. I want to keep an eye out. And like the wishlisting is great because there are games like this that come, they mentioned something about it a year, 2 years, whatever it is earlier. I'm not going to remember every single game that gets announced ever or that is coming out. I have such bad memory. I can barely remember the games I play. Like, it's so nice to just have that. So there's just a service that's like, hey, a game is coming out, like buy it. even if I don't buy it, just to know that like, oh, it's finally done. I can look more into it. I can get like a notification that reminds me about this. So I think it's super cool. I just wanted to kind of like rant about it to say like, hey, there is some use to it, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is something that before E3 happened, you and I were talking about, and I'm kind of glad that you brought up this news story, because before E3, I felt like you and I were both very pessimistic about it, where we were like, it's just going to be a bunch of stuff that we've already seen. Right. And that's coming from a perspective of like, we record an indie games podcast. Yeah. So we've seen a lot of this and we are unimpressed by it.
I think unimpressed is not the word to use though for that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
It's more like jaded, right?
Yes, that was what I was going to say, is that we're very jaded by it because we've already seen these games and we're like, okay, we want something new. We came into this in, like you said, a very pessimistic point of view, when afterwards, like after we saw it, we were actually kind of like interested in a lot of stuff. We're like, it's actually kind of nice to be reminded of these different things. And it's also very nice to now have the other side of this where it's like, yeah, just because we knew about these games doesn't mean that a lot of other people, it doesn't mean that everybody did.
For sure.
Yeah. And I guess it just comes to show that like, before you talk shit about something, and this is really just me, this is me learning something, because I talk a lot of shit. Okay?
That's true.
I do.
It's true.
And it's often uninformed. But before you talk shit, you should really like, and this is once again coming from my own experience, you should really try to educate yourself on what you're talking about, because like, and this is like the Quirrell thing, and that was always just a joke, but this is 100%, before you put something down, you should really try to understand it, because often enough, you don't. Like, I thought I understood what these trailers were like. I thought I understood like a lot about this industry, but the more that this podcast goes and the more that we learn about indie developers is that it's all kind of eclectic. It's all different. We don't understand, like, just because you understand one person's point of view doesn't mean it's the same for everybody. And you always can learn something new. I think it's amazing. Like, and I very much hope that 19% pays off. Like, sometimes I feel like when I saw that $12,000 metric, I was like, damn, I think you overpaid. And not saying that like I think the trailer is bad, but that just seems like so much money for some of these trailers.
Yeah.
Like, not that I think they're bad, it's just like, I don't know. I hope nobody's taking advantage of indie developers, and that's like, I don't know. I'm not trying to make a victim out of anybody, and I imagine that they like really found they're going to find success because of this, but like some of these trailers, I'm like, I could do that for way less money.
Yeah,
like I don't understand what you were paying $12,000 for. Yeah. Like, that's insane. But I'm glad. I hope this all pays off. It's very interesting to see the other side of this. The inside baseball stuff in this industry is so weird and interesting. I really love it. But let's talk about our main news story for today. It is over on GameSpot. It's written by Stephen T. Wright, and it is Gloomwood developer is tired of explaining how the game's fancy shotgun works. The developer behind the upcoming thief-inspired stealth game Gloomwood is tired of explaining how the game's fancy folding shotgun works to well-meaning fans. We got 5 minutes of Gloomwood footage back during E3 2021. While the game looks quite interesting, fans seem to fixate on one thing: the strange shotgun that the protagonist uses to blow up some bad guys. Co-developer Dylan Rogers took to Twitter to note that multiple pedantic fans have complained that the game's shotgun is both break action and pump action, a combination that they deem to be unrealistic. I find it odd that people are coming at realism in a game that has these guys with like crazy ass fucking gas masks with lights inside, like far before that's possible. Fucking moving platforms. It's like they have like elevators and they're like, that seems legit, but this fucking shotgun is impossible. It's like,
So I will agree. That was one of the first things I thought about when we started talking about this or started reading this. But at the same time, you're also the person who won't play a game because a person swings an axe 100%. Incorrectly. Yeah. So
I'm very nitpicky and pedantic. I understand, and I'm also very much a hypocrite. But yeah, the unrealistic, like, I guess this is me being pedantic, is being like, that's what you thought was unrealistic? Was the shotgun that folds up? Really? Okay. All right. But in reality, Rogers and fellow developer David, who I'm not even going to try that one because that's a hard one. That's a name I don't want to butcher. I don't want to butcher anybody's name, but yeah, moving on. Based the weapon on the Burgess folding, or I think it's actually Burgess folding shotgun, a very real weapon from the late 1800s that was designed for portability. That is actually not why it was designed that way. I watched several videos on why that shotgun was designed that way. I believe portability was part of it, how you can fold it up and put it in a holster. Very, very cool. I think that's awesome. But it turns out that the gun was actually designed as like a breakaway shotgun with the pump action on its handle, which is actually how it is. The game has it with the pump action on the barrel, which is not actually how that gun is. It's instead on its handle. It was created that way because the creator did not want to infringe on copyright.
Interesting.
There was actually like a patent filed for the pump action loading on the barrel. So they decided to make a gun like that, but they couldn't do that. So instead it has the like a lever action function near its handle where there's a button like next to the trigger. It's like above the trigger and you push it and you pull back. And it pumps the shotgun. It has like a 6-round magazine, I believe, or a 6-round drum. It's a very, very cool shotgun. I honestly was kind of blown away by it, but it actually does exist. And I thought it was kind of interesting. So besides its commitment to thief-esque aesthetics, one of the most striking aspects of Gloomwood is its inventory management. That's actually kind of outside of the fact of this, like this article talking about how this gun very much does exist, or at least a variation of it, because the gun they have in the game is just based on this gun. It is not the exact gun, because like I said, the exact gun actually could not use that pump action on the barrel. They instead had to go with more of a pump action or lever action near the trigger, so it's a little bit different, but by far one of the coolest guns I've ever seen. And I never understood. And this just goes to show, just because something is not like at the forefront of popular culture does not mean that it doesn't exist, because this very much exists and it's very, very cool. I honestly was like, damn, that's a dope ass gun. By the way, I did not know about Gloomwood, but this game looks awesome.
Yeah, watching the video of it, I was like, this looks interesting. It reminds me of very much like an older 90s game that I would have played or something from the PC era when I was a kid. And it definitely seems like one that I would enjoy anyway. But I haven't heard about it either before this.
Yeah, me neither. Like that, I mean, gotta love when people like have some sort of weird outcry that ends up like showing us or teaching us about games we never would have known about.
It's all about, you know, any publicity is good publicity. Not to say that this is like really bad, but like it's more like a jokey bad kind of a situation. Yeah. But yeah, like the person who the Gloomwood developer is probably like, hell yeah, like bitch more. Like let's get these news articles cranking.
Yeah, they even say in their tweet, I have no plans to remove the folding shotgun. If anything, I'm going to add even more crazy 1800s weapons so people just get paralyzed at what to comment on first. Honestly, like, it looks really, really interesting. I'm super excited for the game in general, and they did actually bring up in the article, of course, the like Resident Evil 4-esque limited management, like inventory management system, where it's all held in your briefcase. That part is so cool. Yeah. Like to a weird degree. I'm so stoked for this game. This is a game that I wish listed. just talking about wish listing.
There you go.
Be sure to add games to your wish list if you like them.
Yeah.
Because you get... That's why, like, every time we have a developer interview, I'm like, be sure to wish list the game if you like what you hear, so you know when it goes on sale or just, like, literally anything. Wish listing the games helps developers. Even if you don't... I have to say, even if you're not
the 19%.
blown away by a game, yeah, like, just wish list it anyway, so to help out the developers. Honestly, this game looks so cool, though. I actually am I'm a fan of the Thief titles. Like, I mostly played Thief Deadly Shadows. I played a little bit of the Thief that came out on PlayStation 4. It's not super good, but I don't think it's that bad. I never played the actual original Thief. I've played it. Well, that's not true. I played it a little bit, but not very much. Deadly Shadows is pretty much where most of my experience with this series comes from, but I really enjoyed it. It's kind of why it's where I developed my love for like stealth characters,
right? Because
those games are all about stealth, and you get like ice arrows so you could put out torches and stuff. It's very, very interesting. But Gloomwood looks super cool. Turns out that the gun that you thought was unrealistic is actually based on a real life weapon that's fucking dope. And yeah, moving on. It is time for us to hop into News Cram. News Cram is our weekly wrap-up segment where we, the host of Indie Pod, an indie games podcast, cramming full of all sorts of indie games news. This week in News Cram, we do not have any quick news stories, but instead we have some new deals and quick deals and a whole bunch of new stuff. Our first and only deal this week comes my way of Polygon, where it's reported that several indie games are headed to every form of Xbox Game Pass. There are also several that aren't. The few that I mentioned here are coming to cloud, console, and PC.
Right.
But there are a few that are mentioned in the actual article over on Polygon that are actually only coming to like cloud and console or cloud and PC, that kind of stuff. I just didn't want to like list out everyone, but just some big indie titles I wanted to talk about are that Bug Fables, The Everlasting Sapling, Gang Beasts, and Limbo are all coming to cloud, console, and PC on July 1st. There are also some other games.
I'm going to finally try Limbo.
Oh, no way. You've never actually played Limbo
Never
before?
played Limbo. I watched someone play like the start of it, and I was like, that's kind of cool. But I played Inside, and I loved it. So I was like, I've always wanted to go back to Limbo.
All right.
Also,
all right. I'm excited to see what you think.
Also,
I might actually beat it. I never beat it.
Oh, well, there you go. If you're a turn-based RPG fan or you like the older Paper Mario games, play Bug Fables. Good game.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks really interesting. So once again, those are hitting all forms of Game Pass on July 1st, but there are other games. So if you have Game Pass within the last week of June and the first week of July, be sure to check it out. Some titles are leaving Game Pass, but there are a bunch that are coming, so keep an eye on it. And of course, with all the titles that were announced at E3 coming day one to Game Pass, it's
such a good deal.
Best deal in gaming.
Best deal.
Fucking Josh Nichols is 100% true. Active Josh when he says it's the best deal in gaming, because it really is.
It is. It baffles me, like the amount that you get bang for your buck. If you're like, here's the thing: if you're not gonna play games or you're very busy, like it's probably not for you. But if you, even if you can manage to play like one game a month, you're still making your money's worth.
Oh, absolutely. Especially because if you only have like the PC one, it's like $5 or $8. It's really worth it. It depends on.
I think the PC one is 10 and the Xbox Ultimate one is 15, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, you might be right.
Because there was a time when it was only 5, and it was like extremely cheap and crazy. But they didn't have nearly as much as they do now on the lineup for PC.
I mean, they also have deals all the time where you can get like months or years for like pretty cheap.
Yeah, so there's all the time. All the time they have like it's $1 for like 3 months, and you're like, what? That's so cheap.
Yeah, it's insane. So on to some new stuff. Our first 7 items in new stuff come by way of Nintendo Life, where it's reported that adventure game Last Day of June by Ovo Sonico is getting a physical release on the Nintendo Switch through Super Rare Games, with pre-orders going live on June 30th. That by the way, there's only 5,000 copies of that, so if you are interested, they apparently will not be printing more.
Really?
I don't know if that's 100% true, but seemingly after the 5,000, they will not be printing more. So if you're interested in it, get yours pre-ordered. make sure to pick it up. Because I've heard really good things about that game. And it also comes with like some cards and stuff. So seems really interesting. That adventure puzzle game, Rewinder by Misty Mountain Studio, is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam sometime in Q4 of this year. That action-adventure game, Unsighted by Studio Pixelpunk, is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via both the Epic Game Store and Steam sometime in Q4 of this year. That arena combat game, Worms Rumble by Team 17 Digital, is now available on the Nintendo Switch. That 2D action RPG, Ender Lilies, Quintus of the Knights by Livewire and AdGlobe, is now available in its 1.0 state on both the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam. This Ender Lilies, we've talked about it in the past, looks very, very interesting.
Really cool looking.
I would definitely recommend checking it out. It looks cool. That adventure game, The Procession to Calvary by Joe Richardson, is headed to the Nintendo Switch on July 2nd. This game, actually, The Procession to Calvary, has like a really interesting like 1800s like art style. It's very weird. It looks like the Sistine Chapel, or like old like, I guess, I don't want to say like pastel paintings, but just like old paintings, like I guess in the age of like Napoleon Bonaparte and shit. It looks really interesting. I would check it out just for the art style.
Interesting.
And lastly, that 2D survival craft game, Residual by Orange Pixel, is headed to the Nintendo Switch and PC via Steam sometime in Q3 of this year. Now, over on Twinfinite, it's reported that 2D action platformer Death's Gambit by White Rabbit is headed to the Nintendo Switch in its new version titled Death's Gambit Afterlife, which includes a complete mechanical revamp, alternate endings, 6 new bosses, and much more, yet no release info was given. I'm hoping that this this Afterlife version is just going to be like kind of released across all platforms. The article itself was just talking about the Nintendo Switch, but I really want to play Death's Gambit again, and the complete mechanical revamp would probably do that, because my big issue is really just a lot of the games, like the way it felt to play. It felt very clunky. So I'm hoping that they've actually, like, that's part of the revamp, but I'm really looking forward to getting back into it, because Death's Gambit has always been something I was interested in. And that's also like people's biggest critique of the game, is that it just doesn't feel good to play. Like, it feels very clunky. So
right.
Hopefully it fixes it and just blows people away, because the game looks really interesting.
We'll see.
And I liked what I played of it, other than the gameplay issues. And now over to IGN for our last news story, where it's reported that 3D platformer Yooka-Laylee by Playtonic is now being turned into a board game. It's like a board/card game. It's mostly card game. Let's be real. This will be accomplished through a partnership with GameDex and Limited Run Games, with its launch taking place on June 29th exclusively through Limited Run Games' website. So if you're a fan of card games, or Yooka-Laylee specifically, be sure to check that one out. It looks interesting. I don't know how it plays. Granted, like, I didn't really try to like look into it that much, but
yeah, there wasn't much information. I feel like it's one of those things where we won't really know until it's actually being sold.
Yeah, definitely. That's probably true.
But if it's anything like Yooka-Laylee, where the platformer was awful, but their spin-offs are great, then maybe this will be a banger too.
All right. Hopefully. We'll cross our fingers.
Yeah, we'll see.
So it is time for us to give back to all the amazing developers in our next segment. This is God Bless the Crowd, which is, of course, when the biggest of average Josh boys hops into all sorts of crowdfunding sites, find something awesome for us to talk about, and we do just so.
Find something awful? Is that where you were going for?
No. I just made it through so much of this podcast
without screwing up. This was a really clean one. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Until that moment. And then it was just like...
And now, that you hit that one screw up, it's going to be one after another.
Yeah. Just fucking dog water. I'm just going to be sucking fat ass the rest of this podcast.
Sucking fat ass. I really like that.
So we're headed over to Kickstarter to talk about a game called Path. Fucker, I did it.
Yeah, I told you.
I'm getting too much in my own head about it now.
Another.
It's called Paths and danger. If Darkest Dungeon and Battle Brothers could have a baby, this would be it. Experience innovative gameplay full of treacherous quests. The developers are looking for $27,756. That is their goal. They currently only have, I really shouldn't say only because I feel like that's in a way negative. So they currently have $1,165 with 56 backers and 28 days left to go. The reason I was like, I shouldn't say only is because they're barely into this Kickstarter campaign.
Yeah.
So like, shouldn't in any way be shitting on it. But
it's all good.
This is being developed by, I want to say Jose. I'm not 100% or Jose. I don't know how to say
Jose
that.
with the little accent.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Jose.
But I was like, for some reason I looked at it and I was like, is it though?
Yeah.
Is it? Like,
Seems,
I don't know.
Seems like it's Jose.
So, Big Josh Boy, what do you think about Paths and Danger? Because this seems like much more of your alley than it is mine.
Yeah. I think you could probably have fun with this because I feel like from an aesthetic to it, of like the environment, I feel like you would be kind of into this, but it feels very much like what they said. Like they give you that, take Darkest Dungeon, take Battle Brothers, push them together. And like, that's kind of what this looks like. Now, I don't have a lot of experience with Battle Brothers, but I do have a lot of experience with Darkest Dungeon, and I am a big fan of the game. I really like the way combat looks in this game. They're kind of like these little figurines. It almost looks like you're playing like a little board game in a lot of the scenarios, where you have your little figurine characters and you get to place them and move them around, and you have certain attacks, but it'll probably feel like Darkest Dungeons because of their mechanic. I forget right now what the actual term for it is, but it feels very much like Sanity in Darkest Dungeon, of your character has some kind of like willpower where certain things will happen in the game, and when you're attacked, you'll start to feel less from a morale sense, and that will give you certain negative traits or certain potentially positive. I don't know if they're going to go that same route with Darkest Dungeon, but I really enjoy that type of gameplay, even though it gives me extreme anxiety, because these are the types of games where it's like you're meant to kind of lose to a degree. Like it's not meant to just be like those RPGs or those tactics game where you're like, I'll just level up a lot and then I'll steamroll it, and it's like you don't get to do that. You just have to have.
It's kind of meant to shit on you.
Just a bit. Which it's not my favorite type. Granted, like I'll admit, because I do enjoy that feeling of like I'm good. Whereas
it's called Spirit, by the way.
Spirit. Okay.
That's what they call
Thank you.
Instead of Sanity is Spirit.
Yeah. Whereas if you take Darkest Dungeon, I never felt like I was good. I just felt like I was getting by. I was like, whew, we made it. Like always.
Well, that's what's so interesting about Darkest Dungeon, though, is the like in the game itself. It actually like it forces you in real life to feel exactly what the game is, where it's like you never really are like, you're always getting by the skin of your teeth.
Yeah.
You're always feeling like you, the player, are also about to go insane because of how fucking dog water this shit is. And I think that's really interesting. Yeah. So I do really enjoy Darkest Dungeon for that reason.
Right.
But I'm just trash at games. So like,
yeah. I get it. Even though you're wrecking through Hollow Knight, many people can't do it. So
I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I gotta be honest.
You're becoming.
Like, there are some games where I'm just like,
you're becoming a real gamer. Look at you,
dude. Am I getting good?
I think you finally learned. You would make Errol so proud. You finally got good.
Dude, can I blow your mind real quick?
All right. What's up?
Not even playing with the D-pad, you know?
Ooh,
like I'm playing with fucking
look at you.
Joysticks, bro.
Even handicapping yourself here and still wrecking through it. Look at you.
Well, here's the thing, because this fucking controller has like dog shit D-pad right here.
It's
just like garbage.
Ooh, is that a Mad Catz?
It's I believe technically it's like a GameStop brand. That I bought like fucking years ago, so I could use X-Patter to play WildStar with the controller instead of the mouse and keyboard, because I thought it was really hard. But yeah, dude, just dog shit. Fucking D-pad. And my DualShock 4 like basically breaks itself every time I plug it in. It's just like, it'll be good, and if I move like an inch, it'll disconnect, so I can't fuck with it. And I don't want to buy another one because it's like, why? I barely use it. And my Xbox controller is just like, no.
The struggle is real.
Yeah, so just using this dog shit.
All right. Well, to bring us back to the Kickstarter, I think it looks really good. I love the visuals to it. I like the fact that they're saying you have over like 30 different types of characters, that they all have their own abilities and whatnots, that you have these different types of enemies and stats. Like I'm into it. The permadeath part feels very, that skin of your teeth kind of feeling of, if you like a good challenge, you're probably going to get it with this game. Like, I don't know. It's one that I want to keep my eyes on. It is, we've talked about this before of like, what is a Kickstarter? What should or shouldn't it cost? And a lot of people usually stick with that $15 range. This is a little bit extra. This is a $21 to get the digital copy of the game. But I don't think that's unreasonable. I think that still makes sense. Looking at the characters, I think it's I don't know why I went to the characters, but from a quest perspective, I'm interested to see how this plays out. And one of the reasons why is because they say they have like repeatable quests and things that you can do, because I'm wondering how they keep that difficulty of like what quests are in comparison to like, is just a quest and like one of those scenarios of you fighting. Like, cause we didn't see the same thing that you would in a Darkest Dungeon of like tiptoeing through the castle or that area that you're in, and like what's the in between of each. And I guess I'm more of just looking into like, what are the negatives and positives of going through these quests? Like, what would stop you from, say, in this, there are unique chests or unique quests that can only be accomplished once side quests or main story quests, and repeatable quests for those craving gold and other exotic temptations. So it's like, what's the downside to constantly doing repeatable quests? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would assume like issues with spirit, or you can get like diseases and different conditions.
Right.
So you can get like seemingly like you can get poisoned, you can get mind sickness, worms, weak foot.
Yeah, I thought that one was an interesting one.
Black flesh, like that's a problematic term, I'm going to be honest. That's a little weird. I feel like that's probably like a flesh-eating disease, but maybe they should probably change the name of it. But just moving past that one, that seems a little weird. But no, I would assume like the reason why is because of the permadeath. You wouldn't want to like risk your characters.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like, I guess would be like the thing, because I think that's also the reason that like one of the main like risks for Darkest Dungeon is that you could just lose your awesome characters in the dungeon.
Yeah.
Like, why else wouldn't you just consistently like hop into it and get some dope ass gear and shit?
Right. Because they'd be stressed, and you gotta send them to the medic bay or whatever it was called and make them de-stressed.
Is it like a cathedral or something?
Yeah, there were like different things that you could do. There was like there was a medic place to actually heal them, and then you could also have them go gamble or go drinking, or there was like, I think there was I can't even remember now. It's been so long since I played Darkest Dungeon. But there's like a bunch of different like things in the town. And they have the same thing in this type of game where there's the town that I'm assuming you'll probably do some type of upgrading with, of going back and forth and building your town up so you have more opportunities to get better things for your characters and things like that. I don't know. Seems like an interesting one to watch. If you don't want to pay the $21 to jump into this, wishlist them. They're on Steam. We've done a whole PSA about wishlisting games this episode, and they have it right there at the top of their page of, hey, we're here. So check it out.
All right. I don't have much else to say about this one. Of course, like I said, this is more of like Big Josh Boy's thing. I hope that they actually reach the stretch goal. I don't know which one it is, but they have a stretch goal where you can play as the villains of the game.
Ooh, that's
and
cool.
I think that would be like a really, really cool thing to like implement in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I would really like to actually see that. But other than that, the game looks interesting. I don't think it's necessarily for me, but I enjoy it. But also, like, once again, got to bring back Loop Hero. I didn't think Loop Hero was for me. Then I played that shit and I fucking love it. So
there you go. You
never know. Dude, maybe I need to hop back into Darkest Dungeon. Just saying.
Oh, like maybe now that maybe now that you're a real gamer, you'll be ready to dive in.
See, well, that's what I was gonna say. Is that, oh, by the way, the play as villains is at like 100,000 euros or whatever the currency is that they're talking about. So it's pretty high. It's pretty high. I hope they get it, because that would be really cool. But here's the difference though. Like there's getting good at games, like okay, it's all about muscle memory, it's about reflexes and stuff. And then there's just being more intelligent, which is what Darkest Dungeon like requires. And that's just something I don't think I'm humanly capable of. You know what I mean? So like I think it's far more likely that I beat Cuphead than I ever get good at Darkest Dungeon because I'm a little dumb.
Maybe.
So there you go. Maybe. But if this game sounds interesting to you, like Big Josh Boy said, head over to Kickstarter, wishlist that bitch. Also, consider Steam. Head over to Kickstarter to possibly back it for, it's like, I believe $21 US is the exchange rate. But this is Paths and Danger. Looks really interesting. So head over if you find it interesting, I guess. I hate that I just said interesting twice in a row. But now it is time for us to hop into our audience questions. Philip Renshaw, the one better for Australia, writes in and says, I noticed last week you got Josh to answer the "Are you a poopy butthole?" question, but you did not answer it yourself. And this is directed toward me. Is this because you are indeed a poopy butthole, sir? Or you do not wish to admit it to the world? I mean,
if we know you'll admit anything.
Yeah, I've been very open about this and other things. Am I a poopy butthole? Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've actually admitted that several times in this episode. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just kind of a piece of shit. Like, it's cool, though. It's all like, I've been on this kind of trip recently about thinking about how morality is just a social construct. It's not actually a law of nature. And I find that really interesting. So, like, am I a poopy butthole? Yeah, but isn't everybody? You know what I mean? Like, everybody's somebody's poopy butthole. So we'll just move past that one.
That's a Hallmark gift card right there. Or gift card or greeting card.
Dude, just philosophy with the ginger boy at the end of Indie Pod episodes, you know?
Oh, man.
So
I wish I had, like, I love that I have video talent. I wish I had musical talent because I'd love to create a little jingle for that. Philosophy with the ginger boy.
That would be interesting. That would be a good segment where it's just like, these are the weird thoughts I have off the top of my head today. Corn dogs.
Are they a dog?
You know? Dude, seriously, that like honestly blew my fucking mind when I found out that corn dogs are just hot dogs wrapped in cornbread. I've talked about it before, but like, what?
Yeah.
The world is magic. It's crazy.
It's interesting. Those type of things are interesting because it's like, you know, obviously a corn dog now is like just second nature, but it's interesting that there was a person who was like, you know what this is missing? Just a whole lot of cornbread. Like, why not?
And then they changed history for the better, dude. Because then, and then somebody was like, but what if it was like small and didn't have the stick? And then everybody was just like, what? What do you mean it doesn't have the stick? That's like the most annoying part of a corn dog.
Can we do that?
Are you telling me? Yeah. Is that legal? Would the government even allow us to do this? And like the CIA just starts like assassinating people around them. And they're just like, oh God, there's a conspiracy. They only want corn dogs with sticks. And then fucking the like mass media gets a hold of this. And it's just like the little pups. That's it. Fucking, we just got outed.
Yep. And that's the story of Jesus.
Yeah, the lizard people don't want you to have corn dogs, dude. It's fucking crazy. It's fucking crazy.
Anyway.
So, Phil also writes in and says, an evil wizard tells you he is going to turn you into half animal, or half human, half animal, but your wife begs for your mercy and cooks him the most scrumptious lasagna he has ever eaten. I'm going to be real. My wife has never made a lasagna, and I feel like she probably wouldn't be very good at it. I'm just not a big fan of lasagna. I got to be real.
Really? Yeah, I feel like you would like lasagna. It's just pasta and sauce and meat. It's like...
Yeah, I don't like pasta that much.
You know...
It's too much pasta.
What?
I've talked about this before. I don't like pasta very much.
I'm sorry.
It's not my favorite.
I tuck this away deep somewhere because what is wrong with you?
You repress this little bit of information.
Oh my God.
You enjoy doing indie pod so much that you tried to repress this deal breaker.
Vaughn's a great guy. He's super cool. He's got a few flaws. And then these things just like... And by the end of the episode, I'm like, never again. And then next week I do it all again. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with me. Man, I can't believe you don't like pasta. You're fucking nuts.
Yeah. I'm just not a big fan of pasta.
Do you what's your number? Like, look, if I was like Vaughn, I'm gonna kill you if you don't eat this pasta dish. All right? What's your pasta dish that you would eat then? That you'd be like, all right, this is my one that's like, it's acceptable for me.
I'm not saying that I hate pasta.
Look, answer the question, all right? You're not answering my question. What's your top dish?
The top dish. So the actual type of pasta, I believe it's called angel hair pasta.
Yeah, okay.
It's the one that like looks like it's like bow tie, I guess. It's not angel hair pasta. I don't know what angel hair
Angel hair is real thin. It's just real thin like spaghetti noodles.
Okay. Now what I'm talking about. Yeah, the bow tie pasta that looks like this.
Yeah. You know? Yeah. Did you think it was angel hair because it was like the wings?
Dude, I'm going to be honest. I don't know why.
Like there are no words. You know how you were like, it's a corn dog. It's a hot dog with cornbread. You're like, it makes sense. You're like, yeah, these are angel hair. Like, why? Why would it be that?
I don't know.
Get out of here. Anyway, okay, so bow ties with what?
So bow ties, like, basically just chicken Alfredo, but with like a little bit of broccoli in it. That's just good. Oh, and like Parmesan cheese as well. Like throw that shit in there. That's a good dish.
All right.
That's good.
See?
That's good.
Can your wife make it?
No, she does. Yeah.
Bam. That's what she cooks for the wizard. That's the whole fucking tangent we went on. All right, continue.
Because I just didn't understand. Yeah, the lasagna part was the issue.
Because you're just, this is what's tripping me up. Great, we made it. All right, full circle.
So his heart softens, and while he is still gonna, I will be just like, shut the fuck up. Like that's what he makes. Okay, that's what she makes. Just shut the fuck up about it. Is still going to turn you into a half human, half animal hybrid. He will let you choose the animal you share a body with. What animal do you choose? So, Big Josh Boy, what animal are you choosing to be like a part of?
So I'm gonna answer this a couple of ways. So first, because it's my wife, because she did the cooking, I asked her this question, and I was like, "What would you make me?" She said a dog, which is clear because she has such a love for dogs, and I was like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. But then I was thinking about it.
Did she choose what part of you though?
But here's the thing. But that's when I was like, this question's interesting because like, does he just let me pick certain parts? Because like all right, I'm a bird. Give me wings. Like, whatever. Like, do I just have wings instead? Is that like who I am? Or is it like, yeah, but you only get the bad parts. You get like, it would be like my head on a bird's body, and like my head would be too heavy for it, so my head would just drag around and I'd be flapping. Like, how nice is this wizard? Is like
the age-old like sexy mermaid debate where it's like they're like attractive, but you can't have sex with a mermaid. Like that's the thing. And if you could, they would just have the fish top. And that's not what you find attractive about a mermaid.
I mean, you don't know. Like, don't kink shame people. They might like a nice fish head.
That's true. That's very true.
You don't know what they're into.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Like, I guess let's choose one that is like this was your choice. Okay. You get something cool, like the good version. And then what do you think that you'd choose that would be the shitty version of being a half animal hybrid, where you'd be like, oh man, I think it would be really cool to be like half armadillo, and then you just get like bumpy skin, and that's just gross. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, like I think it'd be cool to be a kangaroo, because I feel like a kangaroo, you're like close enough to a human, you could still do your human stuff, but you could also bounce real high. You got a nice little pouch. You don't gotta bring a backpack anywhere or any kind of thing. Just like right in my pouch. You know what I'm talking about? It'd be nice. But what would happen is I'd probably just get like a big tail and like stupid feet that like I can't work, but I'd still have my normal legs, and I'd just be like clawing around. Like I don't know how it would work.
Dude, you'd get that jacked up fucking toenail that they have that they use to like shred open stuff. It's like real pointy, and you'd like accidentally like poke your wife with it and just cut off her toe.
And be like, oh,
I'm so sorry.
This is how it is. I'd get just like I'd only get the tail and like the stubby arms, and I'd be like, great, this is not what I wanted from the kangaroo parts.
Yeah, I fucked myself on this one. I gotta be real. Like I'm not happy about it. Yeah. So for my preferred option, I would have to go with a turtle. I would like a turtle shell.
I feel like a shell would be good for really you. Cool. You'd be good at hiding.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's all about defense. Like I'm always worried about someone attacking me, so like preferably I would like a shell to just like sink into. You know what I mean? But like in a very shitty version, I get or like a beetle. Like I could have an exoskeleton.
That's true.
That'd be really cool. I would like a Hercules beetle is a really cool beetle. I'm a big fan. But like the shitty version, like a fish head, I gotta be real, because they don't like you can't move around your head, so it'd just be like this all the time.
That's one of the things that I thought was really funny when you mentioned like the mermaid. You'd get the top part, and I'd be like, how would that work on like a human? Because that would look so strange. Because it's either like straight up,
it's just like legs with like a fish head.
Yeah, which would have to be pointing.
You look
up.
like a kind of like your oh my god, your shadow would look identical to a popsicle.
Yeah,
you would look just like a popsicle.
Because you'd either have that, or you'd have the really weird idea of like just a full fish that is just on your neck, and it just has legs. It would just be like a fish with everything else.
Yeah, I mean, it also depends on like the shitty kinds of fish. Like, what if you were an eel? Imagine having an eel head.
Oh,
I would just I'd be done. Like, I would want to live, you know?
I think no matter what, an eel would be bad if you were a hybrid, because then it would just be your head with like, you would basically be a sperm.
Fuck me, dude.
Is what you would be.
So we're not hearing a tadpole from Big Josh Boy. He's like not a fan.
Not a fan.
Dude, there are like some that I think would be really cool to like be like an animal hybrid, I guess. Like any animal. I guess an eel would be cool if you got the bioelectricity. Like that shit's cool. Or like a bioluminescence. That shit's fucking dope. All right? Like I'm into that.
Yeah, one of those,
just having gills in general.
One of those deep water fish with like a little light bulb in front of you, so you never have to walk around in the dark.
Yeah, like there are some interesting ones, but then of course you'd get really fucked because you'd have that really gross face of an anglerfish. You'd look like real creepy. Like,
they're creep.
You know what I mean?
They're real creep.
Yeah, that's creep city right there. Like I'm not a fan. Okay, but I feel like we've. This is a great
question. We didn't really answer it the way he wanted it, but I feel like we answered it good enough.
Yeah. That's the standard indie pod style. Is like we didn't answer what you actually asked, but we gave you a good answer.
It's a good tangent
to something else. Captain Bang writes in and says, "When are you getting VR, Big Josh Boy? When are you gonna get some VR,
dude?" So to go into this, one of the interviews, which won't come out for another month because of the way I do these, which is also why I've taken a break of doing these interviews for a while. Like for the past like 2 or 3 weeks, I have not done one just because I'm way too past. Like it's too long into the future.
Yeah, you're like this will be coming out in 6 months.
I feel bad saying that.
Be sure to plan appropriately.
I feel bad saying that to developers, so I gotta chill on it. But I talked to the people who are making Veil VR, if you know anything about it, which is just like a really realistic kind of like military game of like a like a Call of Duty or some type of those.
That's cool.
But yeah, like super realistic where you have to actually put like the ammo back into the gun. Like you don't just like click a button and you're like, oh, I'm reloading. Like you have to put the clip into the gun and shoot and everything. It's hyper realistic. And I was talking to them and I was like, yeah, I really don't know much about VR, but it's kind of one of those things where it's becoming more relevant and I want to so bad. If nothing for Beat Saber, man, I want to play that game so bad. Which goes into the next question that Captain Bang is going to talk about. But like, I think honestly, I'll probably get it soon. I haven't had a lot of free time recently, and it's going to probably open up around in August. So maybe around then, especially because now it's more accessible with like the Oculus, the Quest 2, I think it's called.
Just that's the hands-free headset.
Which is, you know,
or I guess the cordless headset.
The cordless,
like it's all like a headset is always hands-free. That's kind of the point of it being a headset.
You never know. Maybe you gotta hold it. It's too big. But like it's always been a thing with me where I have the PC to run VR stuff. Like it's still low end for like now a day, but it's good enough where I'd be able to run it. That's never been my issue. Like I'll buy the parts, but like I just don't want all the cables. I don't want all the setup. I've just been waiting for this to become something that's much more accessible in the market of like, you could just put this helmet on and just start going. And like, that's it. Like you don't need to set up these lights or these like areas for you to actually go about it. Like I just want it to be easy because I don't want to have to, I don't have a big enough area to do that. Right. Like I don't want to get a whole setup that I have to tear down, pull up every time I want to play VR. I'm a lazy person. We've talked about this. For the longest time, I was getting pissed off where I bought a second webcam because I was like, I bought a second mic because I was like, I don't want to have to keep moving this mic from one desk to another when I have to work versus when I have to do the podcast. I'm lazy and I'll end up just spending more money that I don't need to because I don't want to inconvenience myself slightly.
I get it. I get it. For me, it's very similar. Like there's one big barrier to entry that I could easily fix right now. I put a lock on that door. That's what I got to do. I don't want people fucking with me when I can't see. It's like the same reason that I refuse to go to an escape room. Because I feel like I don't like being trapped. I don't like people fucking with me when I don't know it. You know what I mean? Like that shit freaks me out.
It's okay.
I'm afraid I'm gonna get old boyed. I don't want to do that.
When you come to Florida, because you'll come one day. You gotta. I know you want to touch an alligator. Oh yeah. I know you want to go touch an alligator. We'll go to an escape room. They're fun. Yeah.
Nah, dude. My wife's asked me about it like 3 times. I'm like, it's not happening.
I'll hold your hands.
I will not go to his fucking escape room.
I'll protect you. Don't you worry.
You best believe I go to escape room the second that shit fucking shuts. I'm just like wrecking shit. They're like, you have to solve the puzzle, and I'm like, do I? And just like fucking tearing down walls.
They don't actually lock a door. You can walk out. Like you're not stuck in there. I will Kool-Aid man
the shit out of these places. Okay,
you are not stuck in there.
But like for real though, when will I get VR? I actually really want to buy like the Oculus Quest or the Quest 2. I really want to check it out. Basically, it's just like there aren't games that have really, really got me interested, but we talked about like a long time ago that VR MMO. Fucking best believe when that shit comes to
I
like
can
Oculus
bet.
Quest or whatever, I'll play the shit out of that. I'll be like, I do magic. You know what I mean? Like, once I put a good fucking MMO on VR, you best believe I'm going to play the shit out of that.
That'll never happen. Do you know why?
I'll kill you.
Because there's no such thing as a good MMO.
So, Captain Beg also says, but actual question, any favorite rhythm games and why is it BPM?
BPM's good.
I love how literally like last week you kind of talked a little bit of shit about BPM.
Okay, look, I talk shit, but it's because of the fact that visually it hurt my eyes. Like,
yeah, it's got a very like glowy color palette, like a very orange, yellow, and red color palette.
Yeah,
and brown. But it's too much brown. It's too like.
You can change the colors when you go into the game, but it's still like it's always that aggressive tone of just very much the same color, like the same palette, but just like different shades of it. That being said, BPM is still like a really good game. It's very hard. It's very interesting. I love the idea of it. I love when people try to take those like the rhythm games and put it into other genres. I think my favorite is honestly like it's a classic on my side of just playing In the Groove, which if you don't know about it, it's just a straight rhythm game, very similar to DDR. But I played it for a very long time when I was a kid and I loved it and I wish I could play it again, but I don't know where an arcade machine is. And it's also banned in my house because my wife broke her leg doing it. So I'll probably never play it again. Other rhythm games that are great. I really liked Cadence of Hyrule. I have to get Crypt of the Necrodancer one day because I feel like it's a shame that I don't have any knowledge of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really like just the more basic rhythm games when it comes to that. Unbeatable was really good too, and Captain Bang knows about that because I didn't make him get it as far as like playing the demo, but I played it, and then he got sucked into it.
Okay.
Check out Unbeatable.
Yeah, I don't play rhythm games. I don't.
He ain't got no rhythm.
Yeah, I'm a cis white male. I don't.
What the hell
rhythm.
am I?
I'm not good at that. I don't know. I'm not gonna assume anything about you, but you're talented, is what you are. I'm not. No, I've always found rhythm games really interesting, but I've never been able to really get into them. I don't know why. Like, music has just always been like kind of the thing that falls to the wayside for me. But now that I'm getting more into the like audio production sides of things and like and like sound design, I find it really, really interesting. So it's possible. Oh, speaking of, I actually watched Bo Burnham's Inside. You asked me about it last week.
Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it?
Okay,
you're gonna shit on it.
Easiest way that I can.
God.
No, I'm really not. There's the easiest way that I can explain this. It is the absolute most entertaining comedy special I've ever watched, but it is literally not funny in the slightest. I found 0% of it funny. Like, it's kind of weird. I almost don't want to call it a comedy special because it's not funny.
It's there's a lot of it that is not comedy.
It's more depressing than it is funny.
Yeah.
Which is really weird for a comedy special. And like it's seriously like if you got a time machine and you could watch Vincent van Gogh break down over his career and then cut off his ear. That is what fucking Inside is like. I'm like, bruh, I just watched you break down for an hour and a half, and you just progressively, like, obviously in his music, the lyrics, you can tell that he's kind of like, you could see him breaking down, but it's also reflected in the amount of clothes he's wearing.
Yes.
Because at some point in times, he's just wearing his underwear. And you're like, what's up with that?
It is such an interesting special. I've talked about this before. I am a huge Bo Burnham fan. I've been ever since he started doing YouTube videos, and it was really questionable content nowadays. It was more around just like being stupid and funny and kind of like shock humor in a lot of ways with some of his songs. But
it's like edgy.
Yeah, it was like very edgy, but like they were still lyrically, they were still written very well. And I think he's always had a super clever side to him. The songs that he writes are insanely just introspective in a way that I think he's just such a smart person. Like, it is so cool to see him do what he does and the songs that he comes up with. But if you watch like the last couple of specials, especially this one, it's theatrical performances. Like, it's not a comedy show.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised. Like, I didn't know that he decided, because he was having such like aggressive anxiety attacks, to give up doing specials and like actually doing comedy in person. I didn't know that. And I feel so bad that he's like, yeah, and January 2020, I decided that I was going to, like, I was okay and I was going to go back to doing comedy. And then it was just like the pandemic hit and everybody's life got fucked up.
Yeah, dude.
Honestly, one of the best specials I've ever seen, like sound design wise and just visually, to see what Bo Burnham can do with just like a couple lights. And
it's
like him
super impressive.
It's so interesting, but do not go into it thinking it's going to be funny. No. It is not.
No.
Like, it's so interesting, not funny at all. The only song that I kind of found funny was the whole, like, I'm an average white guy and I'm trying to save the world with comedy.
I love
like,
that.
I thought that was kind of funny, just the introspective nature of it being like, maybe I should just shut the fuck up. And like how he's like writing on the legal pad, like, maybe I should just shut the fuck up. And he's like, I'm not going to do that. I thought that was really funny, but I really loved it. I did. I thought it was awesome, but then I was like, I feel so bad.
Yeah, dude. There was immediately right after, a lot of people were like, is he okay though? Like,
seriously.
It's nuts. Anyway,
but Yeah, to move on to our last question, Chris Penwell writes in and says, what is married life like? So, Big Josh Boy, you are obviously my senior when it comes to married life. So, what is it like for you? How long have you been married?
I have been married for 5 years now.
Oh, okay. I don't think I knew that you've been married for 5 years.
Yeah, it's been a good run. I think we're done. It's been enough.
Oh, really? You're just like, I got the house out of her, and that was really what I was trying to do. Yeah. I just needed that credit check, and then just like, get out of here.
No, so married life is really depends on who you're with, right? Like I think it's a hard thing to quantify, because there's so many people. Like you can have a really bad marriage, you could have a really great marriage. I think for me, like I'll talk out of my experience. Obviously, specifically, I think I chose the right person because I settled down with someone who I enjoy being with to a degree where I like being with her, and at the same time, there's things where I like doing things on my own, and we both have that same kind of mentality. We're both good about wanting to be with each other, but also being like, I'm gonna go do this, like you do something else. It's really good because our flaws, like the flaws that I have and the flaws that she have, we try to like balance each other out. So like I can't cook for the life of me. Like I'm good at following directions, but I won't cook because I'm super lazy, but she's like super into it. I'm really good at cleaning, and she is awful at it, so I take up most of the cleaning duties around the house. Like it's just little things where it's nice to always have someone there. It can be at times annoying, obviously, just because you're with someone for so long that there's things that you just kind of like take people for granted, I think. And you also get annoyed by certain things because it's just repetition, and it's like no matter who it is, it'll happen. But it's really just learning those and being self-aware. I wouldn't give it up. I wouldn't. I have no interest in the way I felt when I was single and trying, like looking for love or whatever it was. Like, yeah, I had a lot of fun and did a lot of stuff. And yeah, it's nice to just be able to make your own decisions all the time and not have to care about someone else. Sure. But I wouldn't give up the constant, like the rock that is my wife, who keeps me grounded, very much so, in a lot of the times when I wouldn't call them breakdowns, but just like when I'm struggling, she's always there to help me. And it's super nice to have someone that you can rely on like 24/7.
Yeah, that's
a very, we took such a huge turn on that. Like it wasn't a very jokey answer, but like it is what it is. Like, I don't know.
I mean, in reality, there's like a couple weird things I found about being married. Like I've almost been married for a year, so I don't really have a whole lot of like experience with it. But I feel like media and a lot of people will tell you that married life is far different than it is dating somebody. I do not think that is true in the slightest.
I think
like it just depends on who you're with.
Yeah, for sure.
Because for me, like Morgan and I were together for 9 years before we got married.
Here's the thing. Nothing's going to change. Nothing's going to change for you. And it's same. It's the same with me. Like, not to cut you off, but like, here's the thing. Do you want to know what married life is like? Find someone who you're dating and just live with them. That's it. Yeah. That's literally it. Like if you lived with someone, and I lived with my wife for like 3 to 4 years, like in the midst of me dating her, very shortly after, I moved out of my house. I was living with my parents and moved in with her parents and just lived with her. And then eventually we moved out into our own place. And like, I knew very quickly, like when we first started dating, we had a lot of problems because we went in relatively quickly into just living with each other and having to get through that point of like, how do you react to someone? What is like there's so many things. It's the same as having a roommate, right? Like you get annoyed, or you have to learn how to adjust your living style to someone else. But like when you think about what is marriage versus, just living with a person that you really love, like there's nothing different. Marriage is such a sham when it comes to like things are going to change. It's like, no, you write on a piece of paper that, hey, if you die, you're connected to the other one, or some other legal bullshit that happens. Like that's all it is. It's just like a mindset, right? And a legal document.
Yeah. Yeah, nothing really changes with the exception of like it's harder to get out. Like you couldn't just break up with somebody.
Yeah.
And like that's the only thing that changes. Like in reality, my parents, I think, like there were a lot of people asking me like, was I worried to get married? Did I have cold feet or anything? And in no way did I. I was like, not even a little bit, because I had already
you had those socks on
to spend. Yeah, exactly. I had already decided to spend my life with somebody, so it was like, what does a piece of paper change about it? Like, if she didn't want to get married, I would have been fine with it. She did want to get married. There were a few things that I told her we had to do in between. Like, she said, like, the marriage thing, I told her we had to live together first. Yeah. That was one of my main stipulations, because we had to know how you live with people.
Yeah.
Because, like, you see them when you're dating somebody, you often see them at their best. Like,
for sure.
When you go over to their house, it's like they clean up. You don't really see who they are until you live with them, and then you find out who they really are. And if you can deal with that in an extended capacity, then there you go.
Yeah.
I personally, I don't think it was literally anything different than being together. Like, and to go in a little bit more about our relationship, like, all of my firsts, all of my firsts have basically been with her. She is the biggest part of my life. I've almost spent more of my life with her than I've been by myself. And I feel like that's such an interesting idea. Like, she's literally the only person I've been with.
Right.
I've never really been single, and I don't think I'd ever want to be, because, like, I just want to be with her. It's very interesting. Yeah, I don't really have, like, I'm kind of glad that I don't have the life experience, because I'm just like, yeah, I got to trade out, like, what would be life experience to have an amazing person to be with for the rest of my life. Like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
Like, I married my best friend, and I'm totally fine with that. Like, whatever. It doesn't really matter. So what is married life like? Literally no different than being with somebody for 9 years.
Yeah.
With the exception of we bought a house and now we got to take care of it. That's about it. That's the only big difference that married life has given me.
But you could have bought a house and not been married, so it doesn't change.
True. Very true. We could be common law married. We could have just lived with each other for like 30 years, and then the government's like, I guess you're kind of married.
Yeah, close enough.
Like, you don't have to get the marriage certificate. You're kind of good. So that is the end of this episode. Thanks everyone so much for listening. If you would like to chat with us outside the show, you could do so in a bunch of different ways. Make sure to follow us at IndiePod over on Twitter to get notifications of when our episodes go live, chat about indie games, participate in the episodes by sending in your questions. You can also join our Discord by just checking out our pinned tweet over there. So be sure to follow us at IndiePod. You can follow me, Vaughn, at Hyde Legion. That's HYDELEGION for, I don't know, discussions about anime or whatever. I don't really know what I do. I haven't Twitch streamed in a little while, but that is twitch.tv/Hyde Legion. I'm currently just kind of like coasting along. I don't know what I'm going to do for streaming and stuff. Plus, I almost want to get, like, I'm super close to finishing Neo, and after I do that, I'm going to play Bloodborne. But I'm like, I kind of want to get a PS5 to play Bloodborne on instead of playing on my, like, fucking jet engine of a PlayStation 4.
Just wait till it comes out on PC. Like, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. Like, I would love that. But I could play, like, Ripto's Rage on my fucking PlayStation 4. Like, a PlayStation 1 game, I could play that shit, and it would still be like, wah! So, like, no. I'm kind of, like, waiting a little bit. Of course, you can check out the Biggest of Average Josh Boys over on Twitter at @the_George90, and you could check out his Twitch streams Tuesdays and Thursdays, correct?
Yeah, I took last week off. I've been in a weird funk where I haven't really felt like streaming. It's just kind of been whatever. But I'll probably come back. I don't know. If I come back, it'll be Tuesdays and Thursdays. It's when I stream. I don't know, because I go back and forth. I teeter of like, do I want to really stream? Do I not? Like, do I really enjoy this? Like, I don't really know. I don't know what I want. I'm figuring it out. Yeah. It's all good. I'll be there. I won't be there. I don't know. I don't know that anyone who listens to this podcast also cares if they don't also, or if they're not already in, like, tuned in to my stream. So whatever, man. I'm there if you want to show up. then maybe I will be.
And there is twitch.tv/the_George. So that is his Twitch channel. A little bit of housekeeping once again to reiterate before we go. Check out our Crowded Demon Studios developer interview going live on the Wednesday the 30th. That's one day after for patrons, 2 days before for plebes. That is about their game Syntherapy. Check out the IndiePod store over on Teespring for t-shirts and stickers. Eventually some other stuff will be there. Check out the YouTube channel. It is just IndiePod over on YouTube to watch these episodes on video. Fun stuff. You can check out Josh's Omori Everhood. You could check out the demo impressions I did before. All sorts of fun stuff. Please leave us reviews on any platform in which you could do so, specifically iTunes. Helps us out a bunch. And lastly, thank you so much to all of our amazing patrons, just in general, or anyone who listens to the show. But we got to thank the patrons at the $3 tier or higher. John, just John. That's it. That's just John. We'll see. Mixomatosis, a.k.a. Mix, Zach Durham, Chase Hopkins, Philip Renshaw, the One-Bet Imp of Australia, Chris Penwell, always drinking tea, Josh Nichols, a.k.a. Active Josh, and Sam Fillion from Canada. Thank you all so much for being patrons. You're all so amazing. And we will talk to you all next week. Goodbye.
Bye.